This is 5 on your side at 5. Focused on you.
Tonight, the Major K Squad is investigating a shooting that left one man dead and injured a woman and child. It happened just after 1:30 this morning inside a St. Peter's home. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Kelly Jackson.
And I'm Mike Bush. Tonight, we're learning more about the victims of the shooting while investigators search for the shooter. 5 on your side's Mercedes McKay joins us live from the scene after speaking to neighbors and police. Mercedes.
Mike and Kelly, we just learned within the last hour and a half, the man who was killed has been identified as 57-year-old Darren Goshen. A source also tells us that the injured victims are his wife and daughter. Now you can see behind me that the crime scene tape is still up here around the home while neighbors try to wrap their heads around what exactly happened last night.
It makes me a little nervous. It make anyone a little jumpy and nervous, but stuff happens. It's the climate of today.
Matthew Jones describes Sunday night as normal.
I didn't really think of much of it at first because usually there's some cars speeding every once in a while around here late at night. So I didn't really think much of it, to be completely honest.
But daylight revealed a different story. Just steps away from his home, crime scene tape and police began to take over.
Right around 1:40 in the morning, our police officers here at St. Peter's received a call to respond to the 1600 block of Country Acres Drive for a shooting that just occurred inside of a residence.
Sergeant Melissa Doss with St. Peter's Police and Major K Squad says when officers got there, they found 3 people who had been shot. A 57-year-old man who had died, then a 45-year-old woman and a 13-year-old girl who were taken to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries.
At this time, we don't think that there's a threat on the public. However, we are investigating all avenues at this point.
18 investigators were on the case and still working hours after the initial call. A call that was not only difficult for police,
It's hard for us to understand how anybody could harm a child.
but neighbors too.
Absolutely, anytime a child is involved, there's an innocence there that's lost.
While investigators are still trying to figure out who exactly did this,
We don't get many homicides, so this is definitely something that is unusual for us.
neighbors just want to make sure they don't have anything to worry about.
It's shocking when something like that does happen and it's somebody that you recognize or know.
Police are asking anyone with information to call the St. Peter's Police Department or Crime Stoppers. You can remain anonymous. Police are asking anyone in the area also for any ring camera footage or to say anything they might have seen that could help with this investigation. Live in St. Peter's, Mercedes McKay, 5 on your side.
Tonight, police are investigating several crimes that happened in downtown St. Louis over the weekend. On Saturday, during the Cardinals game, someone was carjacked near 4th and Walnut. Then, yesterday, during the game, people broke into dozens of cars. Those break-ins happened on the lots on South Broadway and Poplar, Clark Avenue, and 4th Street. Today, we talked to the Cardinals president about beefing up security for Cardinal games.
Our secondary police tend to, during the game, they'll do things in the stadium and stuff, and we've talked about maybe having them fan out a little bit more into the parking lots so that the break-ins wouldn't occur. So that's one of the strategies we've talked about just recently, and I think you'll see that happening in the short term.
And so far, police have not said if they made any arrests.
It's been 72 hours since a new St. Louis Circuit Attorney was announced, and one crime victim says she is already seeing changes.
Just this morning, her son's murder trial was set to begin, only for it to be continued. Our Justina Cornell spoke to the victim's mother, who said she has not lost hope. Justina.
Yeah, Mike and Kelly. So I spoke with Nakaya Danforth earlier today. She said she's already seeing a significant shift when it comes to working with the Circuit Attorney's office. Her 25-year-old son, Isaiah Danforth, was killed last year in the Carondelet neighborhood. The suspect, Quentin Roberts, is charged with several counts, including first-degree murder. Now, she said in the last year, the Circuit Attorney's office has been radio silent. And now she said in the last 3 days, it's the most communication she's had all year. Now, the murder trial was set to begin this morning, but with new changes in the office, the judge continued the case in 2 weeks for a status conference to see what's next. For her, she's happy the case wasn't dismissed.
Gave us a lot of hope about the case. Even the next 2 weeks, I'm definitely going to stay prayerful. As strong as my faith is, and as long as I keep my son as my angel, I know that things are going to look up.
While this murder trial will continue, there were also 6 other cases today in St. Louis Circuit Court. We're told 2 criminal trials and 1 civil case will still happen this week.
Thanks, Justina. Let's talk about our weather. It was a mostly sunny and warm afternoon around St. Louis. Let's check in with meteorologist Jim Castillo for our weather first forecast. Hey, Jim.
Hi, Kelly. So showing Busch Stadium right there, and the Cards are out of town until Monday. Monday they play the Royals. And we had a good time at the game on, what was it, Saturday night? Beautiful weather the entire weekend. It is very clear now, but in the upper levels of the atmosphere, we have a little bit of that wildfire smoke from Canada that we've been watching. 82 degrees right now, and that is overlooking the St. Charles area. And look at these overnight lows. It's been pretty chilly, about 46 degrees to start the day off in Farmington, Mount Vernon 46, and in St. Louis 55. Right now, though, we're warm at 80 degrees and that southeast wind at 8 miles an hour. Look how low that humidity is, 31%. Very limited rain chances over the next few days. So clear and cool tonight, lows in the 50s. St. Louis about 57, but near 50 and some of those cooler spots outside of the city. We'll talk about rain chances and, of course, the big holiday weekend forecast coming up.
Jim, thanks. Some sad news for anybody who has followed baseball in St. Louis. Hall of Fame sports writer Rick Hummel has died. We're told he passed away in his sleep early Saturday morning after a short illness. Known as the Commish, Hummel covered baseball at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch for 5 decades. According to the Post, Hummel covered 42 consecutive All-Star games, and he, of course, chronicled the Cardinals' World Series championships in '82, 2006, and 2011. He was kind to so many of us, and back in the days when I was in sports, it was just an honor to be in the same press box as Rick Hummel. He was 77 years old. Frank Cusimano will have much more on the commish later in sports. Well, Missouri could soon allow students to enroll in elective Bible classes in public schools.
The State House and Senate approved the plan, but it could face legal challenges on constitutional grounds. Our political editor, Mark Maxwell, previews the plan sitting on the governor's desk. Mark.
Kelly and Mike, the U.S. Supreme Court has time and again upheld the precedent that a public school should serve a secular purpose and should not steer students toward one religion over another. Big court cases in the 1940s, 60s, and 80s all reviewed cases questioning open prayer in classes, reciting Bible verses, or posting the 10 Commandments. But St. Louis Democrat Senator Carla May introduced this legislation in Missouri, and she feels confident her plan will pass judicial scrutiny, pointing out it's an elective. You opt in. The bill would teach students the influence of the Hebrew Scriptures or New Testament on law, government, morals, and values, among other things. Democrats and Republicans argued it won't violate the First Amendment because the bill says a course, quote, shall not endorse, favor, or promote or disfavor or show hostility toward any particular religion or non-religious faith or religious perspective.
We don't want it to be unconstitutional. We all take an oath of constitutionality, and you're thinking about the separation of church and state. The Constitution don't really say that.
No, but it does say you can't respect one religion over another.
That's exactly it, and we're not doing that.
The ACLU has expressed some concern, saying, quote, although there are acceptable ways to teach about the Bible in public schools, like in a comparative religion class, it's exceedingly difficult to do so in a constitutionally permissible manner, especially when a course focuses solely on one faith or religious text. The ACLU has not said it will sue, only that it's exploring its options.